You're not stuck because you can't move. You're stuck because staying where you are feels safer than stepping forward. And until you admit that safety is the reward, nothing changes. Not consciously, not proudly, but repeatedly. There is a quiet reward hidden inside your stagnation, a psychological return on investment that feels safer than growth. And your mind, whether you admit it or not, prefers safety over transformation. That is the part no one tells you. You say you want change. You say you want momentum. You say you are tired of being in the same place year after year. But if that were fully true, something would have shifted by now. Because when pain outweighs payoff, behavior changes. The real question is not why you are stuck. The real question is what you are protecting by staying there. Most people think being stuck feels bad. And it does. It feels frustrating. It feels heavy. It feels like wasted potential. But underneath that frustration is something else, something stabilizing, predictability. When you stay stuck, you know who you are. You know what your limits are. You know what to expect from yourself. You know how much effort you will give. You know how disappointed you will feel. You know how to survive it. Growth destroys predictability. And your nervous system does not like unpredictability. If you actually changed, if you actually stepped forward, if you actually risked being seen at your next level, you would enter unfamiliar territory. And unfamiliar territory triggers threat detection. Not because it is dangerous, but because it is unknown. Your brain evolved to prioritize survival, not expansion. So when you tell yourself you want more, but your body tightens when action is required, that is not laziness. That is a protection mechanism. Staying stuck gives you something incredibly powerful. It protects your identity. If you never fully try, you never fully fail. If you never fully commit, you never have to confront your real ceiling. If you remain almost ready, you can preserve the fantasy of who you could be. And fantasy is comfortable. There is a strange comfort in potential. Potential is clean. Potential is untouched. Potential cannot be judged because it has not been expressed. The moment you act, potential becomes measurable, and measurable can be criticized. So you hover in preparation. You research. You plan. You refine. You consume. You optimize. You think. You stay busy. But you do not cross the line. Because crossing the line means exposure. And exposure threatens ego stability. Here is the hidden payoff. Staying stuck protects you from ego death. Growth requires the death of the current version of you. And even if that version is frustrated and small, it is familiar. Familiar pain feels safer than unfamiliar growth. This is why people stay in jobs they hate, relationships that drain them, habits that limit them, cycles they can clearly see are destructive. The discomfort is known. The script is memorized. The alternative requires reinvention. Reinvention feels like risk. And risk feels like loss of control. So you stay where you are, and you call it confusion. You tell yourself you need more clarity. You say timing is off. You say circumstances are complicated. But if you strip it down, you will see something uncomfortable. There is a benefit to not moving. Staying stuck gives you an excuse. An excuse protects self-image. If you never launch, you can say you were preparing. If you never apply, you can say you were waiting. If you never leave, you can say you were considering options. As long as the action remains unfinished, the story remains flexible. The moment you commit, the story solidifies. And that is terrifying. Because solidified stories can fail. There is another payoff that is even subtler. Staying stuck keeps you connected to your current tribe. Growth changes social dynamics. When you evolve, some people cannot follow. If you rise in discipline, some friends feel judged. If you raise your standards, some relationships collapse. If you become emotionally regulated, chaotic people feel exposed. Part of you knows this. So staying stuck preserves belonging. You do not outgrow anyone. You do not intimidate anyone. You do not disrupt your environment. You remain relatable. And belonging is one of the strongest psychological drives in the human system. Sometimes you are not stuck because you lack ability. You are stuck because change threatens connection. Now let's go deeper. There is also a payoff in victimhood. This one is harder to admit. When you are stuck, you can blame circumstances. You can blame timing. You can blame systems. You can blame childhood. You can blame luck. And sometimes those things are valid contributors. But when blame dominates, it removes responsibility. Responsibility is heavy. Responsibility means that if you change nothing, nothing changes. Responsibility means your future is not random. Responsibility removes the emotional comfort of helplessness. Helplessness is painful, but it is passive. Passivity protects you from pressure. Once you admit you have influence, the pressure increases, because now you must act. So staying stuck preserves passivity. Passivity preserves energy, and energy conservation feels safe. There is also a biochemical layer to this. Your nervous system becomes addicted to familiar emotional states. If you have spent years in anxiety, your body calibrates to anxiety. If you have spent years in low-grade dissatisfaction, your baseline becomes dissatisfaction. When you try to change, the new state feels foreign. Even calm can feel wrong. Even success can feel destabilizing. This is why people sabotage progress right after momentum builds. It is not stupidity. It is nervous system recalibration. Your system returns you to the familiar emotional set point. That is the hidden contract you signed without realizing it. Another payoff: staying stuck keeps your narrative intact. Every person has a story about themselves. I'm the one who almost made it. I'm the smart one who never applied himself. I'm the misunderstood one. I'm the one who carries everyone. These identities are painful, but they are coherent. If you break out of stagnation, your identity shifts, and identity shifts are destabilizing. You may lose sympathy. You may lose the moral high ground. You may lose the excuse that once defined you. So part of you resists progress because progress demands identity revision. And identity revision feels like losing yourself. Now I want you to notice something. Nothing I've said implies you enjoy being stuck. You don't. But you benefit from it in ways you have not fully confronted. And until you confront the payoff, no productivity system will fix you. No morning routine will fix you. No motivational speech will fix you. Because the barrier is not strategy. It is protection. You are protecting something. Maybe you are protecting your ego from failure. Maybe you are protecting relationships from disruption. Maybe you are protecting yourself from visibility. Maybe you are protecting yourself from discovering your real limits. Because if you try fully and fail, that feels final. But here is the truth you need to internalize. Staying stuck is also a decision. It just feels invisible. Every time you delay, you reinforce the identity. Every time you rationalize, you strengthen the loop. Every time you say soon, you make the present permanent. Now here is the turning point. The only way out is to consciously give up the payoff. You have to decide that the protection is no longer worth the cost, and that requires brutal honesty. Ask yourself this directly. If I changed, what would I lose? Not what would I gain? What would I lose? Would you lose the excuse? Would you lose certain friendships? Would you lose comfort? Would you lose predictability? Would you lose the identity of potential? Growth requires grieving the current version of you, even if that version is small, even if that version is frustrated. It is still you, and letting it die feels threatening. But here is the deeper pattern. Every major shift in your life required a death of identity. You are not who you were 5 years ago. You are not who you were 10 years ago. Every expansion required discomfort, but stagnation is a slower death. It is the slow erosion of self-respect. It is the quiet accumulation of regret. It is the constant whisper that says, "You could have." And that whisper grows louder with time. The hidden payoff may protect you today, but it charges interest. It compounds doubt. It compounds frustration. It compounds resentment. Eventually, the protection becomes the prison. And here is the final piece. You do not break stagnation with intensity. You break it with exposure. Expose the payoff. Name it. Own it. Say it out loud. I stay stuck because it protects me from being judged. I stay stuck because it protects me from leaving people behind. I stay stuck because I am afraid of finding out I am not as capable as I think. When you say it clearly, the spell weakens, because secrecy fuels the loop. Awareness alone is not enough, but awareness with responsibility changes trajectory. You will feel resistance when you move. That is normal. Resistance does not mean wrong direction. It means identity friction. The new version of you feels unstable at first, but instability is temporary. Stagnation is permanent if repeated. So here is the decision you actually face. Do you want the comfort of familiar limitation or the discomfort of growth? Both hurt, but only one evolves you. You are not broken. You are protecting something. Decide what it is, and then decide if it is still worth protecting. Because the longer you stay stuck, the more you convince yourself that it is who you are. And it is not who you are. It is just who you have been defending.